Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Stacey Davids. We warmly welcome Air Commodore Retired Peter McDermott, National Vice President, Air Force Association. We also warmly welcome the Simpson Prize Competition ACT winners and runners-up. Students and teacher will be laying a wreath during this evening's ceremony on behalf of all State and Territory 2020 and 2021 award winners, teachers and chaperones who are unable to visit Canberra this week as planned. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of the RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. Australia's Federation Guard is the tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catapult party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. If you're able, please stand for the national anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozieres, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Warrant Officer Royston William Purcell. Royston Purcell, known as Jackie, was born on the 9th of March 1922 in Werris Creek, New South Wales, the youngest of 8 children born to Patrick and Emma Purcell. He had 3 brothers, Edward, Francis, and Eustace, and 4 sisters, Patricia, Rosina, Sheila, and Molly. His father was a civil servant who died in 1934 when Royston was 12. Purcell was fond of running, swimming, and boxing, and was educated at St. Joseph's, Burwood Heights, until he was 14. He worked as a station hand and then in the workshops at the New South Wales Government Railways. In October 1940, when he was 18, Purcell enrolled in the Royal Australian Air Force Reserve. He applied to be an aircrew member and in July 1941 began full-time training as a navigator. Purcell embarked from Sydney on the 18th of September 1942, arriving in the United Kingdom at the end of December. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,000 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners, and engineers who joined Australian and British squadrons in Britain throughout the course of the war. He underwent thorough training in England, after which he initially joined No. 9 Squadron. On the 31st of December 1943, he was posted to No. 467 Squadron, RAAF. As part of Bomber Command, No. 467 Squadron flew 4-engined Avro Lancaster heavy bombers. On the night of the 10th of May, 31 Lancaster bombers from numbers 463 and 467 Squadrons RAAF departed as part of a major raid from Waddington, England. Their target was the heavily defended railway yards at Lille in France, and Warrant Officer Purcell was the navigator with Lancaster B for Baker. While attacking the target, the bomber was hit and exploded mid-air. Squadron leader Donald Smith was thrown clear and managed to parachute down safely. He eventually made it back to Britain. The rest of the crew died in the crash. Among those killed were Warrant Officer Purcell, along with Australian Flight Sergeants Alastair Johnston and Gilbert Pate, and British Airman Flight Sergeant Jeremiah Parker, and Sergeants Kenneth Tabor and Eric Hill. 12 Lancasters were lost on the raid, and 50 airmen were recorded as casualties of the mission. Purcell's commanding officer wrote in praise of the navigators, saying, "The loss of Warrant Officer Purcell has deprived the squadron of a navigator of great promise, whose characteristic skill and courage were an inspiration to us all." After the war, the remains of Commonwealth servicemen buried in Europe were examined and identified where possible. Purcell's remains were identified, buried at Les Ornes Communal Cemetery, southeast of Lille, under the inscription, "Have pity on me, for the hand of the Lord hath touched me." Purcell left his possessions to his sister Mary's daughter, Lynette Jansen. His last letter home wrote of his hope of being home for next Christmas in a place where he could count on seeing the sun every day. Warrant Officer Royston Purcell's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Warrant Officer Royston William Purcell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.